get in contact with Cyrus right now. We were having technical difficulties, but I also think that it's important for folks who are at home, who are watching, who have this clear division between the LBT community and the Black community, that the people who are standing in front of you now belong to the LGBT community, that the members that have founded this group that continue to do this work are queer and trans women who are Black, who are doing this work and who are actively pushing against this. Understand that the demands that we're asking for, what we're asking for, is coming from a lived experience as well as hearing the needs of our community. It has to be understood that living while Black and queer and the intersectionalities that it takes to live within that body is something that incites fear in your existence. And what we did today by making sure that we talked to the folks at home, that we brought these issues to Pride, was to make sure that we, as not only community organizers, but that our community feels safe to be able to participate in something that they fought, that they bled, and that they were jailed for.
So we'll be available for questions. We also have Cyrus, his contact information for questions. For those of you who have not had the perspective of Blackness Yes and Blockorama yet, I really recommend that you do so. We'll be able to pass that along with you folks. And thank you very much for coming today.
So the demand of the police was, are you willing to meet halfway on that issue at all?
The community has been meeting halfway for a lot of times on a lot of these demands. I think it's important to realize. In that for us, these demands were accepted. And these demands were accepted as full, so we're going to hold Pride accountable. We're going to hold Pride Toronto accountable for the acceptance of those demands in full. You know?
And understanding the civilization of a police float. What does that mean for that triggering image to be a part of your Pride? Like I said before, within the last 24 hours, we've seen 2 Black bodies shot and killed by police. What does that mean when you are trying to be a part of Pride, when you have a symbolic representation of your oppression, of your violence? You're asking for the removal of that triggering symbolism in order for all marginalized communities to be safe at Pride.
So you're non-moving on that? There's no way you'll budge on that demand?
So those demands have actually come from community. So until we hear from community that community is willing to compromise their safety and their identity in their bodies, until we hear that, we're going to stay firm on our demands.
Why is it that if this has been such a huge issue for so long in terms of your community and in terms of effectively you're saying being ignored by Pride, why is it it's taken until now for this to become so central? Why haven't there been discussions 5 years, 10 years ago?
There have been discussions for a very long time.
Actually, that question is entirely unfounded. The question that you just asked is entirely unfounded. It has been part of debates within the Pride organization for more than 5 years. But most recently, it's a part of the community engagement process that Brent Hawks, who went behind queer community back and brokered a regret with the police, helped to lead. So it's a misnomer that these demands have not been a part of the queer community debate and inside the Pride organization. It has been for longer than 5 years, up to at least a decade.
So then why hasn't it been made a larger deal of and become more publicized?
It has been made a larger deal of. You guys have short memory. I have to say the media has short memory. When Choir was pushed out of Pride, when they attempted to push Choir out of Pride, the question of militarization was a part of the debate. Let's not forget that. So you guys need to go back and do some homework. You need to go back and do some research. It's all there. It's all in public documents.
How do you justify your
the
Muslim Brotherhood connection that you guys are involved with?
I also want to note as well that Blackness Yes, that's a point that's an important conversation point to Blackness Yes as well. A lot of the conversations on social media have been on posting links from 2010 and 2011 when Blackness Yes were back at this exact same table, having a conversation about funding, having a conversation about space, having a town hall at the 519 where Pride and Pride's executive director at the time, Tracy, made some promises and Black folks came back to the table. So there are in a variety of different ways, these are conversations that have existed since I've been in Toronto, which has only been 8 years. And I think that historical piece is really important to note as well.
So do you need to get some members of your community on the executive and on the board of Pride to have more influence? What's it going to take then? I
think that's the question to Pride Toronto. What is it going to take for us to get our demands met? Ultimately, we know that there are Black folks who've worked at Pride, who've been on the board of Pride, who've navigated Pride spaces, and the Black community have constantly been back and forth with Pride and our involvement in Pride, and unfortunately we haven't seen any as seen by the backtracking of this demand, we haven't seen any concrete, long-term, standing, and permanent changes within Pride Toronto. So that's why it's important for us to have this community meeting, to have a conversation with our community, and to address these historical issues and to talk about our options as a community. What does it mean for us moving forward? I don't know. We can't speak on that as organizers, but we hope to hear from the Black LGBT community.
Do you expect Pride to be at that meeting? Do you expect representatives of Pride to be at that community meeting?
To be honest, no.
Because they're not welcome, or because
this is a community meeting. Because to us, we want it to be with Black LGBT folks. I think that ourselves as Black Lives Matter Toronto, Pride Toronto, we've had a lot of platforms to speak. You've heard us speak a number of times. You've heard our thoughts. You've heard our opinions. You've heard Pride Toronto's thoughts and opinions. I think it's time to actually put the space out to community, and I think it's time to actually hear from community directly.
In the last few days, have you had any interaction with any representative of Pride since your sit-in and the agreement?
No, not officially. We haven't. No.
When you say not officially, then what? Unofficially?
Unofficially, no.
So how are you going to hold them accountable? You say they're going to be held accountable. What does that look like? What does that mean?
Let's backtrack for a moment, because a question you asked was, why hasn't this come to the forefront previously? Well, maybe it didn't come to the forefront because media wasn't covering it, because there wasn't an actual investment in Black lives, and because it took halting the parade for 25 minutes before we were questioning the future of Pride, the role in police at Pride, and the contributions that Black people have made. So one of the questions that was asked was around membership. Should Black people, should LGBTQ people who believe that Pride is political, should they be part of the membership? Well, the reality is the membership has been disabled since this action has happened. There was an influx of people who believe in the work, who believe in representing marginalized communities, allies who have really stood up and said, you know what, we're actually going to actively participate in this, and membership has been disabled. Maybe we should talk to Chantal about that. Maybe we should discuss that. And the other thing is this: does it require Black people at the table, when in a primarily white space, do we absolutely need to be there for ethical decisions to be made? Do we need to be present for ethical decisions that focus on and include Black people in the space? Do we actually need to be there in order for our lives to be upheld, for our traditions to be upheld, for our bodies to be represented? That's a larger question that we need to ask about the ways in which people understand Blackness, Black liberation, and Black contribution.
Yeah.
Can you answer the question then? How would you answer that question that you've just posed it? How would you answer it?
How would I
I
answer?
know it's a rhetorical question, but I want to hear your answer.
Well, let me answer with rhetoric then.
What do you make of Jackie Lucas?
We would seek active membership. We'll continue to push, but at the end of the day, as Rodney and as Alex have named, we will continue to be led by the communities that are most marginalized. There's not a specific answer, but we do know is Mathieu Chantelois needs to be held accountable. He has backtracked within 24 hours on the commitments that he made. And publicly. And we have multiple platforms and multiple strategies that we will use to implement to ensure that our demands are met and that there is a more active presence and celebration of Black contributions to Pride.
Jay, Rodney mentioned that Mayor Tory needs to stay in his lane and that it's not appropriate for him to be commenting, and if you want to answer Sue, it's not appropriate for him to be commenting on this situation. Does that mean that there isn't a role for city councillors? I know Mike Layton has come out and said he supported what was going on with Black Lives Matter Toronto. Sherry DeNovo has come out. Is there no role for politicians to enter this discussion and to apply pressure or to otherwise disagree with what's been happening?
Yeah. The mayor has a particular role, doesn't he? Yeah. The mayor has a particular role to represent all people in this city. The mayor has a particular role in representing citizens of this city. The mayor has a particular role in representing some of the most marginalized people in the city. So it's very different when the mayor and a politician or an MPP weighs in on a conversation. What the mayor has done has very clearly stated that he is in cahoots with the police, that he is not invested in a more inclusive Pride, that he is not invested in LGBT communities that are marginalized. He's not invested in Black liberation. He has taken a side. A mayor should not be taking sides when the question is, what does justice look like with structural and systemic power given to the police? And when we are representing disenfranchised, marginalized communities, what does that say about our mayor's ethics? What does that say about our mayor's practice? What does that say about our mayor's politics? This should be deeply concerning to all of us citizens who believe and fight for justice, citizens who seek to represent themselves. When the mayor chooses the side of the police, we are all in jeopardy.
And I think it's worth it to note also that this comes in a year when the mayor was silent after people were camping outside of police headquarters for 15 days. I think that this is worth to mention that after people and mothers and aunts and children took over the Allen highway, that this was after silence from the mayor on a number of issues from the black community. That this is a mayor that has been completely silenced, has completely disregarded a number of key issues regarding policing, regarding surveillance, regarding carding, regarding the ways that our bodies are targeted, and yet less than 24 hours after this has come out and has the time to write a letter. I think that says a lot to our community. I think we see a lot through that action. And I think that also says a lot about the mayor's priorities and the way that he views his accountability to the black community.
And also, Desmond, just in terms of like what does it mean to have city councilors come and be in support of us? Any ally that wishes to hold a Pride accountable for the way that they've acted towards black youth, black queer youth, who are dedicated to fighting anti-blackness in all platforms, it's welcome to stand in solidarity with us and do the work that it takes to actually hold these organizations accountable for their actions.
There's a question.
Yeah, I'm just curious about your thoughts on Pride board member Jackie Lucas stepping down.
Okay, just to clarify, Jackie Lewis is a staff member. They are not a board member. And I think what we're talking about here, and I don't want to give too much time for it because Jackie did her role as a ally. What happened was recognizing that an organization is implicit in the way that they are treating members of its community and recognizing that it is wrong. Her comments of her wanting to leave Pride, her comments of making sure that our demands were seen as viable and realistic was something that all allies should do, especially in moments when we are asking for support, when we are asking for help, and when we have someone who's inside these organizations who understands the structural racism that is happening within Pride and how it's being carried out on the community of all parts of the LGBT.
Just to go back to Mayor Tory, do you guys see it as a big conflict of interest that he's on the police services board?
I think absolutely. I think that Mayor John Tory teeters on conflicts ultimately, and it's especially because as a mayor who's on the police services board, he is privy to a lot of conversation. He knows he has a backhand knowledge of a number of these issues that we talked about that he's ignored. So to have that first-hand knowledge, to have that information on all of these issues, but yet to still ignore them, but speak on them when it is convenient. When it's convenient for politics, right? And that's why we talk about politicking. When it's convenient, to write a letter, when it's convenient to get back at Black Lives Matter, it seems like it's this useless game that we're not actually invested in playing with the Mayor Tory. We actually want to we want to start talking more about our community. We want to start talking about Samaya Del Mar. We want to start talking about victims of police violence. We want to start talking about the actual issues. But instead, what we see is a constant back and forth and a politicking with the mayor that he initiates, and that's a game that we actually don't want to play any longer.
Just one more